And now we'll go over and we'll watch Terry Petka delimb with a different type of delimber here, and you just watch how fast this delimber is compared to this stroker. Limit delimber. There's Eric Bardison of Entata Logging, fueling up Rick Carley there. There's those machines, they need a drink once in a while. Pretty good slurp too, to keep them going. And now I believe we'll go over and we'll see the loading as the loader puts the logs on the truck. Lots of bugs. So there, a truck's just being finished off, and then it'll be my turn to get a load. And this here loader is what they call a butt and top loader. Tricky part with these loaders is you have to grab the trees fairly well in the middle there so that it'll balance out well. And that's how we unload the trailers out in the bush. This trailer wasn't balanced right. That's why the reach comes up so very high. Generally the reach doesn't come up that far. And he just plants it on the ground and gets the reach in the right position there, and you back into it and hook up all your hoses, and then he can start loading you. Of course, the bottom layer of the load has to be long enough wood to bunk before you can start putting short ones in there. But we'll just listen in on the natural sound here. Give me a wave there, Neil. And that's Neil Wickham, who's running the loader for Antata Logging there. And my load is completed. And so we'll head towards the mill now. We'll show you various shots through time here of various happenings along the route. And some years ago, this was in October of '90, as you can see, there was a fox over there that we'd been feeding for quite a few years, and this was very early one morning, and we had a bunch of leftover turkey from a dinner, and I took the leftovers with me, and lo and behold, I was lucky that morning that the fox was around, and Doug Finch was feeding them here. And just watch how tame this fox is. Dave Hopper started feeding this fox over in Loon country there in late 80s sometime, and it was around there for many years. You see it licking his fingers there? Very gentle, that fox was. It was an older one, but it was quite unique for us to always be watching for that fox. The first time I seen this fox, I was loading one morning there, getting the trailer ready to load, and I just turned around after I hooked my hoses up, and there was this thing about 5 feet away from me, and I didn't know it was out there. I didn't know if it was a timber wolf or what it was. I just never forget the feeling. I just about jumped straight up into the air, and that was a hello to the fox. Doug Finch is just kind of checking him out here, getting him to come up on his knee. This was the last time I seen it. Later on in the winter, it was seen again by the George Petka, who was running the delimber, and he said it was quite skittish that night because the wolves were howling and so forth, and it was quite skittish. And that was the very last time anybody had seen it out there. And as of 95, 96, there's a young one out there again that comes begging. This one's really chewing up the grub here. Usually it'll just eat a little bit and then go bury it. It was very early in the morning. It was barely visible, really. The camera picks up the light better than our eyes do. So I was surprised that it turned out as well as it did, although it is very low on light. Oh, he'll lick his fingers once more. I don't know. Doug Finch is kind of sticking his fingers out there. He could get nipped on, but not from this old girl. She's just Be so gentle. Take it out. See how dark it is? The lights are still on. It was just at the break of day. And then in Christmas of 1994, Doug Finch was running the loader that year, and they have a light plant in the loader there to keep the loader motor warm when it's plugged in the cold weather. So Doug, lo and behold, he put about 6 strings of lights, Christmas lights, on the loader, plugged them into that light plant, and it was quite a sight to go out there and way out in the middle of nowhere to see this loader with all these Christmas lights. It was quite a sight to behold. It was Christmas of 1994 is when this was actually taken. Surprising how the light shows up here. The Intata Christmas Loader. We were just loading some right away here at that time. I think this was 6 a.m. when this was taken. There, the load is completed. And now for the wrap-up. Just a couple of scenes that you normally don't see out in the bush. That fox and now the loader with all those Christmas lights. So, now we'll be on our way. And there we are, just going across the Babine Forest Products barge crossing Babine Lake. This was a few years old again, this segment is. And what we're going to do here is we're crossing Babine Lake. When we get to the south shore here, I think a lot of you people have heard about that moose that John and Yvonne Johnson raised when some tree planters brought this little calf to them. They'd found out in the bush there. It was been abandoned, obviously. And it was, I think it had a leg that was hurt a little bit too. So John and Yvonne, they took this calf in and nursed it on pig starter, I believe it was, milk replacer that they use for pigs. And I think that's what they used in a nipple on a bottle, and they raised this moose. And here we're approaching the south shore, and we'll just get off here. It's my old truck there as I'll get off the boat, and then we'll just go over to John and Yvonne's place there, and you'll see Moose. Just remember that this is the first set of horns that this moose has had, and because he's been fed so very, very well, he sure had a start and a half. So here we go. See Moose.
Just going to check them out.
See if you got something to eat for me.
And that was last year's calf. That's unreal.
dog.
So that was his first set of horns, and then he hung around that winter between here and out in the bush. He just free to go, do whatever he wanted. And then he had a second set of horns, and they were practically the same size as this. And then Johnny took him over to the North Shore there, and that's where he disappeared. Well, time to get on the road. So we'll just move on. A shot out the window. Jumping along. Hard to keep that camera still. I have much better luck hanging onto that camera in my bird than I do in the truck, of course. What I'm going to do is we're going to stop up ahead here, and there you can see a little bit of the load in the mirror as we're going by the little lake that's below 50 kilometer. And here we're going to stop at 50, and we're just going to show you various stages of growth in reforestation. Chris Lobermeyer just passing us here. And that was 303 John Eisert that is just ahead of me here. So now we'll just look at various aspects of the little trees as they start out for a new forest. This will be in various areas. And this block was logged in the late 80s and replanted, and the little trees are just coming right along. Pine trees. And this block is just always intrigues me. This was taken in '92, so now in 1996 the trees are even larger. When in 1984 or something like that, these trees barely peeked out of the snow in the wintertime. And as of 1995, there were some trees there that I'm sure were close to 20 feet tall. Just amazing how they've grown. That was a block at 56 kilometer on the Auger. It's just a remarkable stand there. And here I just wanted to show you some scarifying or land prep that is sometimes done to help with the tree planting. Sometimes they do this, plow it up, because then the planters can plant a lot cheaper. And that's a growth of forest that's just doing very, very well. That was in the Pauling area, this block was. And this is just a swamp scene along the road. Just a fall scene of a swamp with all the color. Just such varied scenes. And there's another scene here, and there was a young fella here who was very noisy. And this block here, it used to be quite barren. But anyway, here that's where they've thinned, tree thinning. The trees were actually a little too large, but they got at it anyway and did some thinning, cut down a horrendous amount of stems there to give the ones that are left room to grow. But there's a forestry sign here, and you just have a look at this forestry sign. And what do you think? Has this porcupine got it in for the Ministry of Forests, or does he just like plywood? But he definitely doesn't like the crust. He sure left the crust. That was right there in the middle. Fussy porcupine. Be quite a sight if you could catch him up there hanging onto that sign as he's gnawing away. And now we're going to come upon a scene here that this is one of my favorite scenes coming up right here. Of course, in the creek there's a beaver dam. Lo and behold, them old beaver, they're everywhere. When I was a kid, there wasn't a beaver in the country. And nowadays, there's beaver everywhere. Beautiful. But look at this scene. Now, isn't this something to behold? Beautiful. Natural beauty. Now, all this area here is part of that Co-op Lake fire that was burnt in 1952. And all this growth here is just natural regrowth. Of course, nowadays when they plant it, it gets a head start. But this is one of the many benefits of my job is you see all the different seasons and all the colors and different stages. It's just beautiful to be out there and just, you never know what you'll see day by day. But I've taken so much time here that Arnie Goodwin, who was behind me, he's going to catch up to me here and pass me. But another scene through the window of all the fall colors. Different seasons, of course, as we've seen on this video. And here comes Arnie. So we'll just watch him go by. So now we've looked at all this color, but we've kind of forgot about winter. So why don't we just jump back to Bergen Lake for just a little stint, a short little stint, and just see some of the winter happenings. Because winter is it's a lot of time that we spend in the snow. And it has a different interests too. So here we are on the north shore of Bergen Lake as we're just about to get on the barge. And there we've gotten aboard, and Johnny will just swing the tug around, and the typical winter scene out at Bergen Lake. 5,000 feet across to the south shore, there it is. And here we go across the lake. Bergen Lake it is. And that's the tug there. There's two big Caterpillar 6-cylinder diesel motors in there. Twin screws just pushing away. Heavy duty oomph they have. and it's looking out the other side. And you might wonder how this channel stays open so nice. But can you see the bubbles there? There's a huge air compressor, and then there's a plastic line down about 40 feet under the surface, right across the lake with little holes drilled in it, and air bubbles keep coming up, and that's what keeps the channel fairly open. If it really gets cold, then there's just small little circles that are open water right around the bubbles. But of course, the warm water coming up, the ice on straight across is very thin, and barge can break his way across very easily, even in the first trip in the morning. But there's the bubbles just coming up, and that's created by an air compressor right up on shore there. And in from up high up in the sky, that's the way the 5,000 feet of channel would look. And that's the way it looks from up on in the air, looking west on Bergen Lake. And we're just getting off here, one of the Intata trucks, getting off the boat. Pretty nice wood on that load. And we'll just hustle along the road here as we get to the mill here. There's a typical winter scene. Pretty good snowbanks. This picture was actually taken in February after a pretty heavy-duty thaw. And that pickup just passed me, and now up here where the road gets a little wider, he's just going to slip by on the right-hand side of that truck because the road really leans on the right-hand side, so we don't want to get it over there at all. Let the pickup go pass on that side. If we get on a side hill like that, we can sure get into trouble in a hurry. So that pickup will just squirt on by, and then we'll whistle on down to the mill and get this video over with. And here we are, just approaching the mill site against the sun.